Hey everybody, it's me, Samuel K, and I got into an argument with a stranger on the internet this week. I guess you could say that I've got some issues. Here's a list of this week's issues. These are the comic books that I read this week. I'm not going to be discussing all of them, but if you want to ask me any questions or tell me what you thought of any of these or hear what I have to say about them, just let me know in the comments below. Look at me on Twitter. I'll have some contact information for you at the end here. Also, not on the list, I read Fables, Volume 1. I wasn't too crazy about it. It was fine, but I hear Fables really goes some places, so I'm going to keep reading. I really like the character of Bigby. I think he's a great main character. So I'll keep reading it. We'll see where that goes. I also read Hellboy Volume 1. I started reading Hellboy back in high school or college or something like that, and for whatever reason fell out of it, but I always really liked it. But the art's incredible, the writing is really good. And there's my review of Hellboy. Like, everybody likes Hellboy, so I didn't really need to expand upon that thought. Yeah, here are my talking points for the week. Bing Bang Boom, Spider-Man #1. The Amazing Spider-Man #1, because there's like a dozen Spider books all the time. I didn't really see anything that led up to, like, Peter Parker being down on his luck again. I don't know anything about the Parker Industries storyline or what happened there, but apparently he, like, invented cell phones or some shit and he went out of business or something. I don't know anything about any of that. I didn't read any of that. I read all of the Carnage Goblin storyline, which was really fun, and I liked that a lot. It had really high stakes that felt kind of realistic and more personal than a lot of other, like, high stakes Marvel things, so I really liked that. I like, what they did in this issue is that, like, Peter's going back to school because he lost all of his academic credentials. He makes up with MJ at the end of it. He loses his job at the Daily Bugle. Aunt May's pissed off at him. It's gonna be fun to see Peter Parker being a sad sack and trying to get his life back together, because that's why we all love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the superhero because it's the right thing for him to do, but it's not always the easy thing. And, like, being Peter Parker sucks, and being Spider-Man is only slightly better. That's really why Spider-Man's always been one of my favorite superheroes, is because it's really not fun to be Spider-Man, really. I'm not really crazy about the art in this issue, though. The cover is really good, but, like MJ's weird wooden dead-eyed face and like there's a lot of really weird, like, faces in general in this issue. Like, it kind of reminds me like they're trying to do a Steve Dillon thing, but they don't have Steve Dillon's chops. Rest in peace, Steve Dillon. Daredevil number 605. It's written by Charles Soule. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Art by Mike Henderson, cover by Chris Sprouse and Marte Gracia. Because I'm a Punisher fan, I'm, like, contractually obligated to also like Daredevil. They, like, run in the same circles. They're kind of the grittier Marvel characters. And, like, of course I'm gonna like Daredevil because he's, like, this badass ninja who dresses like Satan. So, like, yeah, naturally, like, I fucking love it. The latest storyline in Daredevil is that the Kingpin has become the mayor of New York, and he appointed Matt Murdock as deputy mayor to keep Matt in check. And then the Hand attacks New York, so there's fucking undead ninjas running around everywhere in New York killing everyone. So they're really trying to, you know, get rid of all these ninjas, I guess. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, has been injured in a previous issue, and so Matt Murdock has taken over as the mayor. And in this issue here, Kingpin shows back up while Daredevil's out saving the day, and Foggy Nelson is running things. And, like, this little series of panels, I really like. It just shows how imposing of a figure the Kingpin can be, and he's slowly, like, forcing Foggy to push his back up against the wall. But also at the end, you know, Foggy's pushing the cane out of his face and just showing that he's not going to allow himself to be bullied. There's some really good acting in these panels that I really like. And then on the very next page, there's these great facial expressions of the Kingpin just, like, stroking out and falling over, and the faces in this one really tickled me. Also, Daredevil number 605 has my panel of the week. Dun, dun, dun. It is Daredevil smashing through a wall, riding on a horse, swinging a sword around, and trampling a bunch of ninjas. Like, it's... like, what more can you want out of a comic book than, like, goofy, crazy shit like this? Yeah, this is my panel of the week, just because I like the absurdity of it. Oh, also, Daredevil is with a bunch of Catholic knights. Like, because of course he's with a bunch of Catholic knights that have jetpacks. It's fucking ridiculous, but I love it. Also, just to point out, Daredevil's the only really good Marvel Netflix TV show, and I'll fight you on that. Next up, we have The Hunt for Wolverine, the Adamantium Agenda. It's written by Tom Taylor, art by R.B. Silva and Adriano Di Benedetto. Cover artists are Giuseppe Camuncoli, Roberto Poggi, and Dean White. Feels like a lot of Italian names in there. But, like, basically what's happening in these Hunt for Wolverine books is that Logan Wolverine has died, and his body has gone missing. And so various groups of superheroes have broken into teams to go out looking for who has Wolverine's body. Adamantium Agenda has Iron Man, Spider-Man, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. And they hear about this auction that Mr. Sinister is having, where he's selling, like, samples of superhero DNA on a submarine. So they all end up on this submarine undercover, but of course it all goes to shit because it's a comic book. And then Laura Kinney, Wolverine's clone, also known as X-23, and the current Wolverine in this arc, shows up and starts, like, raising hell, which is awesome. The thing that I wanted to point out in here that I think is just really funny is, Tony Stark decides to give everybody on the team their own Iron Man suits, and, like, okay, first off, like, we know Iron Man, he looks normal. Iron Spider, it's not the usual Iron Spider armor, it's different, so that's fine. But, like, here, okay, and, like, Jessica Jones's one, she looks like she's got some spider legs on the back. I'm not sure what that's about, but the ones that really tickle me are that fucking Luke Cage, aka fucking Power Man, who's a dude so strong he can punch a truck in half. For some reason, he has this giant golden medieval flail on his goddamn, like, $1 billion Iron Man armor that can shoot lasers and shit. But, like, no, let's give him a humongous golden flail to swing around, too. And, also, Wolverine's outfit, for whatever reason, has metal dreadlocks sticking out of the back. Like, Wolverine doesn't even have dreadlocks when she's not Iron Man. Like, why does she have Wolverine dreadlocks? Like, she's like the Iron Predator or some shit. It's really funny to me. Also, their names in this, we've got Iron Man, Iron Spider, we know those two. Iron Cage works for Luke Cage. And Iron Wolverine, or Iron Verine, maybe, And then, like, Jessica Jones is just Iron Jones. Or, like, maybe Iron Jewel, because that was her old superhero name. But yeah, this panel really fucking tickled me, because it's so goofy. Here we go. Old Man Logan, number 43. That's written by Ed Brisson, art by Juan Ferreira, cover by Mike Deodato Jr. and Carlos Lopez. I fucking love Bullseye, and I'm super excited that he's going to be fighting yet another Wolverine, because it used to be that just like there was one Wolverine, and now he was in every book. Now there's like 15 Wolverines, and they all have their own book, which I'm okay with. But this cover is kind of rough. Like, it looks like the selfies that my friends and I send each other when we wake up in the morning and we're just saying good morning. So we take like a really unflattering picture and be like, good morning, and make a weird face. That's kind of what Bullseye's doing here. But, like, I fucking love Bullseye. Like, don't get me wrong. Bullseye's a really cool character because his whole thing is, like, he throws shit real good. And, like, that's all he does, is he just, like, super throws stuff at people so hard they die. So, yeah, I'm excited that Bullseye is getting some stuff done in this comic. Also, I really like the artwork in this comic. It's got this kind of sketchy painted feel to it. And it reminds me a lot of the artwork by Yoji Shinkawa from the promotional art and stuff for Metal Gear Solid 2. That kind of painted looking look to it, but still kind of like cartoony. I don't know what to call it, but I really enjoy the artwork in this book. And also, it's like Old Man Logan being kind of a badass detective, and also still fighting people because he's Wolverine. Like, that's just how it goes. But yeah, great art in this book. I'm really enjoying it. Next up, Quicksilver, No Surrender, number 3, written by Saladin Ahmed. Art by Eric Nguyen and Paul Renaud. Cover by Martin Simmons. This is a good example of when superhero comics get weird. In the No Surrender storyline that I mentioned last week in the Avengers, Quicksilver started running so fast that he essentially, like, transcended space and time and reality and blipped out of existence. And in this book, he's running around in what's basically the Earth frozen to his perception. And everything is in black and white except for when he's running, and except for Quicksilver himself. And it's kind of this really striking visual that I really enjoy. There's also these monsters that look exactly like him, and they're running around attempting to kill everybody that he's ever met, which is kind of the main, like, conflict here. And so it's just Quicksilver in this frozen Earth fighting, like, these things that only he can see, and there's this sense of, like, isolation and hopelessness that I really enjoy about it. And I really like when comic books in an abstract way deal with a concept beyond our reckoning, in that, like, like, he's displaced from time right now, and they do it in a cool way. Like usually when a comic book does, like, power beyond our reckoning, it's like just a big monster. And this is something other than just a big monster. And also his isolation is a big part of what he's fighting here. And there's a little bit of hope at the end of this issue, and I'm excited to see where it's going. Punisher, number 227 by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Stefano Landini, and a cover by Clayton Crane. Yes, very good. I love the Punisher, and he's one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe, because it is a universe populated by ancient beings and, like, actual gods, and he's just a grouch that has a machine gun and he hates crime. Like, it's so stupid, and Nick Fury, like, decided to give the Punisher the not Iron Man, but, the War Machine armor. And so, like, naturally it goes completely tits up, and Frank just steals it and starts flying around killing people like crazy. Like, with a minigun and a flamethrower and bombs and stuff. In the last issue, he was about to get caught by Mockingbird and Hawkeye, but for whatever reason, Bucky and Black Widow show up and let him go. And, like, I usually don't like Frank joking around much, but this panel right here, where I feel like for a second, maybe genuinely, Frank confused Bucky with Cable because they're both, they've both got one robot arm. That's really funny to me. I also just wanted to point out that at the end of the comic, Hercules shows up, and I really hope that there's something in the next issue where Hercules fights the Punisher, because I would like that an awful lot. Also, here we've got X-23 by Mariko Tamaki, art by Juan Cabal, cover by Mike Choi and Jesus Abratov. The all new Wolverine series was really great. I didn't read too much of it, but it was a really entertaining read. The end story where they're like in the future and Laura is going to go kill Dr. Doom was really cool. Really entertaining book, and I'm glad to see that it's continuing on as X-23, because that's, Wolverine / Laura Kinney's other name. Last time I read comics, before this time when I started reading, I think X-23 was still a bad guy, so I'd like to know what she did to become a good guy. I might go back and look into that. I also hadn't been introduced to the character of Honey Badger, who is my favorite thing in this book right now. I've always had a soft spot for, like, goofy sidekick characters, and the thing that I feel like about Honey Badger is that she's not so much like a Spider-Man or a Deadpool where she's telling jokes, but she's just being a weird kid. And, like, it's compounded by the fact that she's a weird, super strong kid that has no qualms about killing people, but, like, is still just kind of a goofball. I really like it. It comes across as being very genuine, rather than she's trying to do these funny things in order to amuse somebody. She's just doing it because she's a weirdo. I also really enjoy these panels here where she says that the Stepford Cuckoos look like an evil choir, and apparently they're aware that they look like an evil choir. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. That's Issues by me, Samuel K., Episode 2. If you want to get in contact with me, you can find me on Twitter at Samu3LK, or you can send me an email at samu3lk@gmail.com. If you have suggestions for me to read a book that you want me to talk about, let me know. I'm always taking suggestions, especially, like, I read primarily Marvel Comics, because I don't really give a shit about DC. But if DC is doing some good stuff, tell me what they're doing, and, like, give me a little rundown of what's going on in the story, because they don't have the recaps in the front of their books like Marvel does, so that'll help me. And I'd be happy to read some, like, Justice League or Batman. I like those, but just not a big DC fan in general. I've always really liked Batman, and I liked the cartoons, like the animated series and Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. But aside from that, DC's not really ever been my thing. Also, indie comics. I love indie comics. I have a lot of friends that make comics, and I love their comics. So, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a superhero comic. I'm just reviewing those on here because that's what I've been reading. But yeah, I guess that's Issues by me, Samuel K., the guy that reads the comic books and talks about them online. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Smash that motherfucking like button. That's the thing that they say on YouTube. Like, it went ironic, and now I'm saying it ironically, so that we just kind of fold over ourselves into nothingness an ironic black hole that we all fade away into and stop existing. Oh yeah, also the movie is just like some piano and jazz and bossa nova stuff from Studio Ghibli movies, like from Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro and stuff. I don't know who composed it all, but it's really pretty. Go watch those movies, because, they're good anime. Right, that's it. Bye.